Welcome to the Irresistible Workplace Initiative podcast, the place where leaders come to learn how to create a workplace where people would be crazy to leave. Join your hosts, Holley and Tony McConnell, as they serve up stories, strategies, and real talk that you can actually use today. Let's get into it.
All right, welcome to the Irresistible Workplace Initiative podcast, place where the leaders come to learn how to create a workplace that you'd be crazy to leave. Right. And I'm so excited that we have our visionary Dow Smith of Dow Smith Construction Company with us, and Tony McConnell, the Colonel. And so Tony, let's just kind of take a little trip down memory lane to start. And we're going to get refreshed on Dow's original vision and then bring it up to kind of where we are now. Okay. And then maybe look at where we're going to go. And it's wide open because we're always growing, always changing, always learning. But this is where we are today, right?
Yeah, it's good to have you here, Dow, because you are one of the business owners, leaders of an organization that strives and started striving early on to build a workplace that people be crazy to leave. And, you've had success at that. Yes. And I remember one of our early on conversations was you would like to see how to help our community as a whole and the organizations and the trades and other organizations do the same thing. Yeah. And I think you've done well at that. You are the prime example of what we would like to have as a Irresistible Workplace Initiative member / client. So that's why we like having you here.
Well, I appreciate that. And man, it's great to be with y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all are two of my favorite people to be with. and as I reflect back, what maybe jumping ahead, Holley, but this really came to fruition in my mind, or maybe it started in my mind as I was driving back from the EOS conference that was in Indianapolis. What was that, 3 years ago? And don't want this to become an EOS advertisement, but I do want to emphasize how important EOS is to us, which is an operating system. So anybody who a potential IWI client needs to have a very viable working operating system. EOS is one of those. But so I was coming back from the EOS conference, and you learn a lot of great ways how to use an operating system and a lot of tactics combined with strategy. And I was seeing many organizations, some of these you could tell were really thriving, and some that were not, that were struggling. And part of Gino's thing is this Q&A when he does a talk or after he does a seminar. And I could tell those that were really struggling, they didn't have a operating system problem. They had a culture problem is what their struggle was. And I said, man, if you can combine a strategy and an operating system with a culture, you're really going to have something magical that happens then. And I felt like we have that at DSC then, and as we've evolved. And there are many great things DSC that I'm very proud of, but the number one thing I'm proud of is our people. And if there's anything that I want for us to give forward is how to have a great culture. That's where my heart is how can people have a great culture, a place where you want to go to work, a place that I look forward to. I was so eager this morning to get up. I had a great Christmas break, and it was great to be off. But I was pumped because of the people I was going to go work with this morning. Yeah. I was pumped. Yeah. In fact, I had a tough time going to sleep last night because I was excited about it. Yeah. And I think everybody should have that opportunity, or at least more people should have that opportunity. I'm looking forward to going, and what we do is important, but I think who we do it with is just as important, maybe even more. But they're at least equal. But there's something that we're trying to discover. What is that, and how can that be reproduced in any industry and in any context, or how can it be? That's the journey I think that we're on. How can what we have at DSE be duplicated at other places?
Yeah, while we're still learning, even at DSE.
We are very much in the early stages of this. And whether that's good or bad, we're figuring this out as we go. Tony, we're practitioners, so it's not like we are experienced consultants on this. We are in the arena
every day.
Every day we are in the arena, making our mistakes and having our successes as well. So I think that's probably the key of our uniques, is like, we're doing this as well too, and we're going to make mistakes together in this journey together.
Yeah.
I want to highlight one thing you said there, and we've really talked it a lot at our two tables that we have growing now, because so many business owners think that they are not impacted by the culture, and they are. I mean, you, like you said, you like going to work and working with people that you like, and in a culture that you like. And we try to tell the business owner, that's one of the first things that we really try to make them understand, is that they have a right to enjoy coming to work as much as the people around them do. I mean, I was like, I tell, I'm not going to say people's name, but I told one guy, I was like, Doug, I was like, this is your life. Why do you not want to love it? Why would you not want to be, really involved in it and love it?
And yes, they have that right, but they're also the one who has the most influence and control of that.
That's right. And if they're not happy, or they don't like culture, then there's no way that they can make the culture better.
Right.
That's correct.
As the leader goes, so does the culture.
Yes. Well, I think we've said the quote a lot, and I can't tell who it is. You guys might know, but culture eats strategy for breakfast.
I think Lencioni. I'm not sure, but culture eats strategy for breakfast.
But what I heard you say just now is, why don't we have both? Have an operating system. Like you could see when you looked around at that conference, these guys got the operating system. Why is it not working for them? Because they don't have a strategy for their culture specifically.
That's correct.
So I think having both is what sets us apart, to go, we're actually going to invest dollars and people, resources, and everything else into our culture. It's not just a byproduct, it's intentional.
And here's what we're doing at DSE, which for this to work, the owner and anybody else, and being a key that is in what we call a key seat, has got to be both on an inward journey and an outward journey. How can I be a better person? What does my heart need? Doug, I mean, all business owners, we want more revenue and we want more profit. And I'll add to this: if you have less people problems, you'll have more revenue and you'll have more profit. So that's a key part. But for that to happen, we all have to look at the mirror every day. We need to be looking at the mirror every day. And how can I be a better person? What does my heart need? What does my inner child need for me to have a good day? And so that's got to be a key part of it. And then, so as we implement a great workplace, it's both, how can we do this together? And then what do I need as well, too? It touches a lot on radical candor as well, too.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about, I think, one of our conversations, how leaders don't think they deserve that. And I think that, there's some sort of, I've got to be miserable at work for it to be work. What do you say to that?
That is a fear-based, scarcity-based bullshit.
I had a boss, an Army boss, that he said to me one time, he said, if it was fun, they wouldn't call it work. And I've taken that with me. Because I also say that you learn as much from bad bosses as you do good bosses, and sometimes more. So I would put him in the bad boss category.
Yeah. So
I hope
Dow,
you're watching.
There's been a long journey at DSC on people, care, and culture that you were already on. And when you came to this, like you said, driving back from this conference, something in your mind said, this has to exist, this thing that you imagine. We called it an institute. We didn't know what we were going to call it. And I remember you came back to a coaching session and you said, I've got this dream, vision, idea. And what do you think made you take it from, okay, DSC thriving and just keep pouring more resources and energy into that to saying it has to go outside of us? Because that baffles people.
Forget where I got that concept from, but I think it has to do a lot with franchising method. I'm started rereading the book, The E-Myth, or actually The E-Myth Revisited. And what Gerber talks about in the E-Myth, in building a business, it needs to be set up so it can have a life of its own. But the franchise model is kind of like, it can be repeated. So I'm trying to connect all of that. As we put out products, we can gather that information and bring it internally as well too. That's part of, we're building this as we go. If we can, we're developing a product, developing a big keyword that we can put out, that we want to start on ourselves and put out. I'm not answering.
Well, I guess what I'm asking in a way is, I don't think people have understood that we want to. There's been an investment on the front end of this for DSC for us to begin to give it away and to serve. And so that doesn't make sense to people. You don't do that.
Now, I remember a conversation we had early on that was, I think you had told me you realized that no matter how good Dow Smith Contracting Company culture was and how effective we were and how low the turnover was, if subcontractors that you use on the regular, if they didn't have some parities pretty close to the same, you were never going to be 100%. So, we talked about, well, how do we help those guys get better? And then we also, but it wasn't just Dow Smith and the subs that you use, it was also, how do we make, which is very counterintuitive to some people, is how do we make our competitors' culture and their organizations as good as us? Because if we're all in the community of, contractors and different organizations, if we are all, have a pretty close parity in abilities and overhead, we push each other to be better. And I think that was it was a iron sharpening iron thing. I think was kind of how that's what I keep pulling out of my head. That came from a conversation that we had.
And I remember
early
having
on.
that, which is, okay, I got three thoughts and so like that. A rising tide lifts all ships, so it would be wonderful for me if our competitors get better, if our industry got a little bit better, if our industry got a little bit more professional, we're all going to gain from that. So I do embrace that. That's a love and abundance approach. I believe there's more out there than we need, and it goes to that love and abundance. There's plenty of it out there. It took me a while to get that. I want to add to part, which is about the investment. Mm-hmm. You need to be investing in your employees. And I get economics is a factor in every decision. We're spending about 12% of our payroll on our people development. And when we did the math and we looked, I go 12% of what I go, that number sounds like a healthy number. It may be on the generous side, but any business owner, it's like money you spend on your training. If you don't spend money on your training, you're going to have turnover. And when you got turnover, your productivity and your margins and your revenue are going to decrease. And when you got a stable workforce with fewer people problems, your revenue is going to go up. And your margins are going to go up. So it's all about having as fewest people problems as possible. We can't get rid of our people problems or challenges or issues. But Tony, you mentioned like our subcontractors. When our subcontractors, when they're having life issues, it impacts the productivity on our job site. And we could take the approach, that's our sub and that's his problem and he's like that. I'm sorry. If the foreman of our plumbing crew is going through a divorce, it's going to impact that project schedule. Mm-hmm. And you can have a Pharisee cold heart about that and say it shouldn't be. It just is. That's a reality. So I think a key part of it is just caring. So that's a life issue that needs to be dealt with. But if you got a system and a plan in place so those issues can be minimized and dealt with, it works out because they're happening. And so if you can approach it with a system that can be dealt with and understood, you'll make more money. Yeah. You know, it's just that you will. And that's one reason why I just embrace, which is part of it, is that of being, but yet confused of being in marketplace ministry. That we may go there, we may not. It definitely touches and connects. And I think that's maybe a key heartbeat of who we are and what we're doing is ministering. And I want to use that term in an inclusive manner, ministering to all of God's creation, and just be inclusive. I want to be inclusive in that. But so yeah, still being a wise steward of investing of how we're taking care of ourselves and each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To me, and you and I have discussed this too, and Holley and I talk about it on the regular, is it's much better to spend part of the profits training someone, getting them training, helping them grow, either, even if it's just, horizontally and not vertically, helping them grow and become a better at the jobs they are doing and a more well-rounded person than it is to be spending that on a job search or on an employee search, trying to find a new employee because that person left and went somewhere where they could get that.
How much does employee loss turnover cost?
It's anywhere from their salary plus 50% to their salary plus 150%. It's an estimate. Yes. I mean, it depends on the position, and it also depends on the marketplace. But in construction, turnover, as you know, is 50%, which is
so let's just say a person who makes a base salary of $60,000, and you have continual turnover on that. That's going to cost you $90,000
on the low end.
On the low end. So to me, let's spend $20,000 to make that problem not happen. Yeah. That's a $70,000 gain.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, so that's the benefit from a business standpoint. But the fruit and the joy of that is beyond measurable, correct?
Yes.
It is.
People that want to go to work. I mean,
people who want to go to work.
It feels like a dream.
How do you put them? It feels like a dream.
Yeah.
If you wanted to just write down byproducts that you could tangibly show to somebody, if you put a job notice out, if you have a vacancy, and fortunately the Dow Smith vacancies have been for growth, not because of a loss. They've been because of a growth, a need. You have a bench of people waiting to come to work for this company because their friend works at this company and likes it. Or even better, which happened recently, is a spouse of an employee's friend.
Yeah.
An employee's spouse's friend had a friend looking for a position and looking for to come to work for Dow Smith and waiting on a position to come open. So if you can impact it that deep in the employee's family, you really know you're doing good, because there's no separation between work life and
There's not.
and home life. That's a fallacy that's dead. That is dead. You know,
correct.
It's integration. You don't leave your work at work, and you don't leave your home at home. It's all there all the time.
It is. And I agree. We got to have boundaries, and to some degree, we got to live in compartments, but they touch each other and they're going to impact each other. They just are.
Yeah.
And that's just how the reality is.
And, now when there's so much in the developing AI world, I think it's good for us to go, wait a minute, what is the human element that's needed? Because AI can do great things and will do wonderful things, but there's something that only the human element touches, and it's that aspect of care.
And which my thoughts on AI, why I embrace it, because I think as I look at it, AI is going to prove or reprove that kindness and goodness provide a sustainable profit. That's what AI will reprove. Kindness and goodness provide a sustainable profit.
Yes. Yes. It takes courage to say. And I think that let's take this down the courage route a little bit. I know that's one of your values.
Yeah.
So if there's somebody out there listening who's like, I want to do this, they have all the hesitations of like economic, time, other people buying into it. When you first had this idea and you wanted to share it, what doubts did you feel? Or were there any fears, concerns, issues when you said, okay, I'm about to put this vision out there? Because even within, we've worked really hard to try to help people understand it, but it's been a journey. So.
Well, I love courage, but to be honest, it's like I had a great team, and I could immediately go to Holley Potts and Joey Ryan and Tony McConnell. Guys, I'm thinking this. How's this sound? And knowing if it was a dumb idea, they said, Dow, this ain't going to work. Because there's been, as visionary, I come up with a lot of ideas.
Right.
Most of them are not good ideas. And so I've learned, just put it out there. And if it's a good idea, it's a share. Yes, we think that's a good idea. Where if it's not, that's just my ego talking right there. So to be honest, sharing it in our context was pretty easy. What to do going forward has taken an incredible amount of courage. It has. But then that makes me think of Dan Sullivan's thing. But before courage has got to come commitment.
Yes.
And we decided we are committed to our caring value, and we are committed to our culture. So it started with a commitment. We want to keep doing this. Yeah. And I want to give credit to Robert Fish, our EOS implementer. He guided us as part of our vision, our VTO. Yes. So it was like we documented this is what we're going to do. And we've made some hard pivots. We made some serious changes, and some of them have been good. Some of them maybe not. I've also learned a lot of times what you see as a mistake turns out later to be, well, that was a good decision.
Yeah.
I also learned what we thought was a good decision, and that may have been a mistake.
Yeah.
So we're having to adjust, adjusted, and we got more adjustments coming.
Yeah. I think for me, like after having our first table group, about what, Tony, maybe 4 months in, 5 months in, I said, this has to exist. Like, I know it's existing and we're calling it into existence or whatever, but when we brought like the real life people into the community at the start, beyond Dow Smith, we're already doing it internally. It just made me see how hungry those guys were for something like this and how much they needed each other to have courage to go back and make changes.
But they started with a commitment. I'm going to come once a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the first 3 table meetings were kind of rough, weren't they? The January, February, March meetings
Yeah, we're trying to figure it out.
You know,
We're building that airplane.
but they were
in
good
flight.
enough. They were good enough.
Yeah.
You know, so like that.
Yeah.
Probably you'd rate them an 8.
Yeah.
Good enough.
Yeah.
So like that. But yeah, once the fourth one, I think it was that fourth
Yeah.
meeting. Go, yeah, we got this.
Yes.
And our
Yeah.
second table took off.
Yeah.
There was no downtime on that table.
Yeah.
Right. So now, it's seeing that the thing that we thought makes sense to us makes sense to other people. And, we came up with our own model, which we'll say it again, like Tony helped me go through, and we got 6 things that we think are super important for culture strategy.
If you win at these 6 things, doesn't matter what kind of
Hey, those 6
organization
things are
you
great.
Yeah.
Let's hear them. I want to
Okay.
hear those 6
Okay.
things.
So leadership, balance, growth, recognition, compensation, and feedback.
Feedback.
Those are 6 awesome pillars
Yes.
right there.
Yes.
And they all have
They all touch each other.
things going down,
Mm-hmm.
and they all, no single one is really more important than the other, because if you fail at any of them, then you pretty much fail at all of
That's
them.
correct.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. If you can be great at all the rest, and if the compensation is not where it needs to be, or unethically, if you're unethically compensating people, if it takes you more than 30 minutes to tell somebody why they don't make the same as somebody else, then there's something off there. That's the thing about it, is we've tried to be as simple as we can and find the things that we think can be impacted almost day one. If you just intentionally go in there, and intentionality, like that's kind of always my opening thing, is every day, every meeting is, what have you intentionally done?
Right.
Not accidentally done. What have you
Right.
intentionally done this month? And that's the thing. Is just gotta be
And those
intentional.
6 pillars, y'all have incredible content under each of those
Under each.
principles.
Yeah, it's ongoing.
So this curriculum and content y'all have based on this is one, a library in itself that y'all have. At DSC, maybe we're putting in maybe half of it. By no means all, some of it, but there's so much more. So how y'all have created those pillars, and the content that you have under them is so sustainable and so true.
It
It's
is.
so true.
There's been no lack of energy around anyone. Anyone that we've brought to either table group so far, people have very real life stories that connect right to that pillar. And so, yeah, it's been, man, how we went from this idea of, okay, we want to have a sustainable community of people who build an irresistible workplace, to go, wait a minute, what does build an irresistible workplace? And to be able to break it down. And of course, you can add to those, but they're probably going to fall under one of them, but I think if you have those things well-rounded, it's going to be a pretty darn good place to work. It's been my experience.
It will, or at least it'll be a better place to work.
Yes. So what part of the vision still feels a little unfinished?
Holley, honestly, I feel like it's just a matter of time. Really, almost none of it's. Because it's like we're going to have 1,000 members inside of probably 6 or 7 years from now. Tony, how many think we have now? Have you built your spreadsheet yet? Of how many members?
I haven't
check
built a
those
spreadsheet, but I have
The other day you
ongoing-
said 58.
We're at about 58. I've actually picked up a couple more that I would tentatively call members that I've talked to and had some pretty strong conversations with over the last about 3 weeks.
Well, I'm highly confident we're going to have 1,000 members in 6, 7, 8 years. Well, our goal was 10 years. I think we're 2 years into that. We're going to beat that. So I think we're very much well on track on that. We have our offerings now of the tables. I guess if there's anything that gap, what will be our other offerings putting out? To me, we're going to have that answer. Right now, we have more than enough offerings for the marketplace and for our capacity. We do. So the table, the in service of facilitating your design of the survey, are two of our key offerings that we have now. So that's plenty for right now. So
Tony, can you just elaborate too? Because if people are listening and they don't know what that table offering is, what does it look like once a month?
It's it's just the business leader, and they're not all businesses. We have nonprofit leaders from nonprofits. We have leaders from churches. Mm-hmm. We have sports guys. It's
coaches.
It's just a really different group dynamic. Mm-hmm. But everybody has the same thing, because then when they hire people, what do they get? Employees or they hire employees, and what happens? People show up.
Yes.
And people all, no matter what kind of place they're going to work at, they have the same issues and the same wants and desires out of their workplaces. So it really just becomes a place where, as a leader, and Dow, you and I have talked about this a long time ago, before this was ever mentioned, of how hard it is as a leader to have someone to cry to, mm-hmm. someone to talk to that understands what's going on and how lonely it is at the top sometimes. That's one thing, in the military does pretty good, of having you with a group of people that are, equal rank of you that you can talk to. If you don't have mentors or someone you can talk to, you're, you suffer. So that's one of the, probably, if I had to just pick out of the hat, what is the number one thing? It's those people getting together, and it's, and being able to talk to people at that same level in an organization. And it may be some are in $50 million organizations with 100 plus employees, and there's guys that are in, $2 or $3 million organizations with 10 employees or less. Mm-hmm. So but they all still have the same issues, and they're still the leaders, and everything falls on their shoulders. And that to me is the number one thing, is being able to come in there. And we don't really do a lot of, we don't do a lot of talking. Probably more than I should sometimes, like I am right now, but we just really let them talk and sort of navigate through the topics. We go in with a rough topic. We don't go in with a set outline of what we're going to talk about. We go in with key points we like to bring up before we've done some research on it. And, and we also send out our newsletter beforehand that kind of primes up what our topic's going to be for that month. Let's say we did balance. If we do balance, we send out a newsletter that focuses on balance.
Your communication before the meeting and follow-up after is just phenomenal. It's a great product. Our members there are getting a great value for what they're investing.
Yeah, and we're doing some takeaways. So wherever the conversation leads us, we always want to take time at the end of the day to go, all right, what are you taking from here? Otherwise, we all just sat, we were here for 4 hours with a great lunch, and, and then when they come back and we check in the next month, we're hearing how the takeaways made steps, either big or small, toward where they're trying to go. And that is one of the most encouraging parts to me.
That's
is like,
my favorite part.
Yes, actual changes.
Is the two table meetings when the guys sit there and go, I implemented this change, this change, this change.
Yes.
And it literally is based on something somebody brought up or was, brought up at the meeting. And that is, to me, is where I go, there is a profit on the part of the table members.
I'm glad you said profit, because I was about to. I guarantee you that that has added to their bottom line, to their profit.
The cost of admission has been,
or in Coach Jimmy's case, is going to add to his win-loss record, and whatever your key metric scorecard is for businesses, it's our P&L statement.
Yep. So Dow, kind of thinking forward again, we talk a lot about being invitational. Everything we do, we want to be invitational. How would you describe what we're looking for as far as inviting people to this community? What do people where do they need to be in their organization? What are we looking for to say, hey, this will be a fit for you to come be a part of this community?
My invitation is to the business owner or a person in an organization that's responsible for their HR, but it's to spend at least 10% of your payroll cost on culture. Spend at least 10% on that. And IWI is an option for you on how to be a good steward of spending 10% on that. So that's my invitation is spend 10, whatever your payroll is, including your own salary business owner. Which what is your total? So take your quarterly 941 you got to put in, send to the Fed and multiply that by 4 in that, and take 10% of that, invest that in culture. And if you need help in putting that together, how to be a good steward, call us at IWI. That's my invitation.
Yes. Yeah. Anything you would add to that, Tony?
I actually would, because I really appreciate the way you put that, because it does no good to spend money without a plan. And you know, that's either whether you're doing it in your, you know, out of your own pocket, because if you don't plan for your money, it will find its own way to disappear.
It will.
And that's one thing that I believe in being a good steward of everybody's money. You know, I'm a good steward of your money. I'm a good steward of my money. And I always have been. In every job I've ever had, I've never felt like wasting the federal government's money when I was in the Army. I try to be a good steward and of people's time. Time is, you know, as a business owner, time's probably as valuable or more valuable than the money sometimes. But what we can do is we can help focus. Anytime you can focus, laser focus on issues, you will spend less money and get more bang for your buck.
You will.
Always. If you do key targeting, and you go after high value targets. It's just like if you do a survey and you find that you've got 10 spots that could use improvement. If you try to hit all 10 of those, you are going to be a failure.
That's correct.
At almost all 10 of them. But if you can daggum kick some rear end on some 2 to 3,
that's correct.
That you have the resource, if you have the resources to impact them, to do it, then do 2 or 3. Don't try to do the rest, because sometimes when you do those 2 or 3, you're gonna
fix the other 7.
You're gonna have some collateral, not damage. You're gonna have some collateral fixing.
That's correct.
You know, that's the thing is, and that's where we can come in as an outside organization, and we've done this a lot. Is come in and just said, we can help you with these problems, but let's don't worry about all of them.
Right. How to prioritize
and that's why I like surveys too, is because then you lose that squeaky wheel, that person that's nagging at you all the time. You think you got problems going on in one area, but then you do a survey and you find out really I only had one person had problems in that area. Right. Everybody else is pretty good with it, but I do have problems in this area.
Yeah.
And another thing that a survey does is, and we try to do, is we try to highlight the good things that are going on. Don't focus on the bad things.
Yeah.
Build on what's working.
Because that's the cheapest thing to do, is build on things. If you want to spend money, that's the cheapest thing to do.
Build on what's working. Make sure you don't lose it.
Yeah. Well, I think we might need to have a part 2 to this conversation, even if we carry on a little more. But I want to say just thank you, Dow, for this vision, because it's something that I've been able to live out for the past 6 years in my own workplace, being at DSC. And, you know, we're our own best marketers for anything. And I would tell people in a heartbeat to come work for us. And I would tell people in a heartbeat to come be a part of IWI, because the way that my personal life has been impacted by my work life, and the way I never thought of work as an opportunity to enrich my life. And so I think that is the passion that I feel. It's Tony, who doesn't have to do anything in his retirement but play guitar if he wants to, but chooses to be a part of this. I feel like maybe you're fueled by that same thing.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we want to say thank you for it and sharing it. And man, I'm so excited for people to get to hear this. And if they're curious, you know, come alongside and we'll see what happens.
Thank you for listening to the Irresistible Workplace Initiative podcast. Be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. We will see you on the next one.